Okay, I'm going to share with you something, right? And this is actually a technique that is well known in the cybersecurity world. Um, be it red team or blue team. Okay, blue team as well in terms of defending, right? The defenders know about this as well. Okay, it's quite a common thing. I'm going to show you a little bit of a modified technique. That means I have the normal technique, right, and then I actually modify it um, based on what ChatGPT is able to do to bring it one step further. Um, but just keep this yourself. Don't share this with people because this is a very this is sensitive lah. It can actually lead to potential cybercrime or people abusing and things like that. Okay. Anyway, it's not so easy to abuse because it really depends on the situation and how you exploit it. But I'm just gonna explain it to you. Okay, so the the reason why I've been for the past few weeks when you've been talking to me about your new job, I've been telling you that it's very important for you to do intel gathering. Okay, the reason why intel gathering is very important, like you need to really know all your servers. Literally, you need to really know all your servers. Okay, you need to know like what operating systems they're running on. Okay, like version Windows 10, 11, no, server 2019, server 2022, and so on and so forth. Ubuntu Linux. And then after you know the server OSs, you have this information. You need to go and find out their service version as well. This is very important. Okay, and I'll get to this in a moment. Why you need to know all these service versions. So for example, like Apache, Nginx, no SQL, you must know all these, whatever service you're running. Okay, it doesn't matter. And of course, the last one, the last thing to actually know, right, is the last intel together would be actually the application. Okay, application. And in terms of application, actually all you need to know is that because some of these application you guys actually develop in-house, right? If it's a commercial application, then of course you must find out what are those commercial applications are. If it's in-house, then of course you must find out what's the in-house software they're running, what commercial software they're running, what kind of in-house developed software they're running. Okay, so you need to go and gather all this information. This is very important, and I'll tell you in a moment why. You'll see why. Okay. Now, remember I was telling you about certain things where we do in defensive when we're talking about cyber defense, right? No, there's certain things that we do that has a lot of very high blue team value. That means very high defensive value, right? Okay. So one of the tricks, right, that cybersecurity professionals they do is that I'm not sure if you use things like I think they have it in Outlook as well. I haven't used Outlook in a while, but this Thunderbird, by the way, you can actually add what you call RSS feed subscriptions. Okay. So basically, how this thing works, right? You can actually let me just show it to you, then you understand it better. So you can see over here, I got quite a number of different feeds which are set up, like Hacker News, uh, uh, Hacker News, Sense Institute, Packet Storm, ExploitDB. Okay, now the rest of them are mostly just news about some hacking that made the headlines. Okay, so that one is up to you. You want to read, don't want to read, it's up to you. It doesn't matter. Okay, but the one that you should really take note of, the one that you should really subscribe to, if possible, right, subscribe to this feed. Okay, the rest you can just don't bother. But this one is very, very important. This one is actually from ExploitDB. Okay, and you can actually go online and find this is the feed that you need to set up for this URL. Okay, so basically it's an XML file. Okay, now what happens is that once you set up the feed to run, right? Let me just show you one. You will get all these kind of like emails coming into your inbox. Okay, and they will come in like this. I wouldn't say it's completely real time, but it is semi real time. Okay, that means like maybe a certain exploit code was just uploaded, a new exploit code for a certain either operating system RCE or a certain service that can get RCE or do something to it. Okay, the particular vulnerability um, was launched. Okay, or the vulnerability could be something that existed earlier, but the exploit code actually comes later. Okay, somebody wrote the exploit code, and somebody who wrote the exploit code decided to actually upload that into exploit DB, right? So very quickly you're able to get that kind of information. Okay. Now, why is subscribing to something like an RSS feed very important? Okay, especially for exploit DB, is because this gives you a very high blue team value. The moment you get something, and let me just give you a simple example. couple of days ago, lah, okay, on the 28th, I actually received this sometime in the morning, 8 a.m. Okay, and this one actually said this was the rest of it is kind of like third-party software, so I don't really care about it. But when I see things that is familiar to me, for example, let's say I know that my company uses Windows Server or Windows 10 kind of Windows 10 or 11 kind of laptops, desktop, right? And I see something like Windows RCE, Windows TCP RCE, which means that oh wow, literally all my Windows machines are actually affected by this, right? So this is cause for concern, okay? Which means that if somebody actually uploaded, let me just click on the link. If somebody uploaded this into exploit DB, right, it means that the code for it actually exists, okay? So you can see from here that someone actually wrote the code already, okay? The code is in Python 3, and someone actually wrote the exploit code for it, okay? However, there's this thing called EDB. When you go to exploit DB, right, you'll see like, let's say I'm looking at this particular exploit. This is actually a checker and a denial of service. It's a DOS attack, okay, against Windows IPv6. Okay, interestingly, even if you do not use IPv6, but by default IPv6 is enabled, right? And sometimes you cannot really turn it off because if you turn off IPv6, what will happen is that you have certain applications that actually use both IPv4 as well as IPv6. And if you turn off IPv6, you can actually cause the application to have issues, right? It may crash and things like that. So yeah, you kind of like you're stuck with this, right? And it's part of the TCP stack, so you can't really go and change it. Okay. Okay. So basically, what the EDB means, right? They say EDB certified means that they which means that has have they actually taken this code, right, and try to compile it and run it, or try to actually just run it against a real target. Okay. And if you see a tick, right, it means that a green color check, right, means that this exploit code has been tested to work. I mean, it is a working, confirmed working exploit code. There's no modification needed. If I click on the download and download this code now, I can straight run it in Python. I can launch the attack against a vulnerable server and it will kill the server or something. Okay. So if it shows as an X means that this code is not verified, which means that this code is possibly buggy. There's two reasons for it. One is that they haven't gotten to actually verifying the code because there's too many exploits already. Okay. Um, and that's one reason. The second reason could be that they may have actually verified the code, but then the code actually contains a lot of bugs, so it is given an X. Okay, so you try to remember this part. Now, let me explain to you why this is important for blue teaming. Okay, in terms of defense. So you can see that what happened was that when this feed came in, right? Okay, on the 28th in the morning, right? Literally nobody in the world. Okay, I won't say nobody. I mean, the cybersecurity guys who subscribe to the RSS feed, they will know about this, right? I also know about this. But literally, you talk about the rest of the world, the IT world at large, nobody knows about this exploit. And this is a very, very, very new exploit. Okay, so it affects Windows 10, Windows 11, that kind of thing. Okay. Now, um, what happened is that, so basically what I did was I downloaded the code, okay, and let me just show it to you how it looks like. Okay, I put it on a Linux machine, okay, any kind of Linux machine, and this is running Python by the way. I'm using Sublime text editor, okay. So this code actually attacks IPv6, okay, and what you need to have, right, um, is like you need the MAC address, okay. So this is actually my MAC address over here, okay. You see a %7 behind. The %7 actually is part of the IPv6 prefix and stuff like that, which is not necessary. So it goes all the way up to A6E, okay. So C0, 57C0, A6E3, okay. Now the code over here, I can actually just ignore the rest. All I care about is this one, the destination IP that I want to fire off to. Okay. Again, because this is attacking based on the MAC address of the IPv6, right? And to be honest, I do not understand exactly how this attack works, but I only know that it does affect vulnerable Windows machines, and which are not patched. So at the point when this was released on the 28th of August, right? Uh, Microsoft had not released a patch yet for this vulnerability. Okay, I'm not sure if they have it right now. I need to check. Maybe they have already given a patch for this. But as of 28, right, when I tested, Microsoft had not issued a patch for it yet, and it works against Windows. Okay, so I basically get this IPv6 address, okay, and I make sure I key in the address into this into this code. Okay, and let me just show you how the code actually works. It's pretty amazing actually. Okay, so I just need to run Python IPv6. Now I'm not going to fire off the attack first. I'm just going to show you um, what I have set up. Okay, I'm just going to show you what I have set up over on my Windows side now. Okay, so within Windows itself, right? Okay, let me just close this window. Now, of course, for testing, right, this thing doesn't work if the Windows firewall is turned on. There's certain what do I say? There's certain exceptions, to this scenario. Okay, and this is quite possible because there are people who are not well versed in cybersecurity, right? And certain administrators, maybe a very junior administrator, not very familiar, he may have problems getting some applications to work, so he may just turn off and disable the entire Windows firewall. Okay, and that's pretty dangerous because once this happens, it's a lot easier to actually attack the machine. Um, and of course, the other way to disable this attack is one way would be to enable the firewall. Okay, the other way would be to just simply turn off the IPv6 under your connection properties, right? You can just turn off IPv6. Okay, if you turn this off, you will not be vulnerable. But for the purpose of just showing you how this works, right? I'm going to leave the firewall off, and I'm going to leave the IPv6 turned on, okay, so that it will react to IPv6. So this TCP/IP RC checker and denial service, right? Okay, is something that is very very new, and this is a Windows 10 machine, by the way. So I'm just going to show you. Let me run Winver. Of course, I didn't patch this because I was testing out. I purposely wanted a Windows 10 vulnerable machine that I can actually test things like the MS17010 Eternal Blue exploit and things like that. So because of that, I didn't go and install the cumulative update. Okay, uh, so you can see that this is actually an old unpatched version of a Windows 10. So this machine is vulnerable to MS17010. However, I'm going to show you that without any kind of cumulative update, right? Not only is my MS17010 not patched, okay, but it's also vulnerable to very new kind of attacks, okay, which is this is very recent. This is on the 28th of August, okay. It was published on this date, 8 a.m. in the morning, okay. Now, this code that was given, this exploit code that was given, actually does not work at all. But how did I get it to work? Right, was I downloaded the code, okay, and I saved it as a IPv6 dos.py, and I uploaded it to ChatGPT. And I said, check the following code for errors and correct them. Okay, and of course, it corrected the code for me. Okay, and then of course, when I run the code, I got a little bit of errors. Okay, I got some errors, I say, and basically it shows there's no module named Scapy. So it actually told me to install something called Scapy. So I had to use the pip install. This is actually a Python module. So I had to install pip Scapy, pip3 install Scapy. Okay, and after I was done with this already, I still had some errors that was going on lah. So I copy and paste these errors, and ChatGPT actually updated the code for me. Okay, so basically I kind of like I asked it to kind of like clean up the code for me, correct the errors, and make it working, right? And it finally gave me a final code that I have over here. Okay, so this final code, right? Yeah, I'm not going to go into this. This is the basically the explain how the code works and how it gives Windows a BSOD, a blue screen of death. So I took this code and I put this into my Linux machine with this running. Okay, and let me just fire this off to show it to you how it works. Okay, I'm just going to fire this off right now. Okay, oops. I'm not sure if I am connected. Wait lah. Okay, let me pause the video for a while. Let me pause the video. Okay, my problem is that I need to change this over to I need to change this to Python 3, sorry. Sorry, my mistake, my bad. Python 3 IPv6. Okay, I'm just going to fire it off just to show it to you, okay, how it looks like. Okay, and it's running right now. Oh, sorry, operation not permitted is because I need to run it as a sudo. Sorry, I'm a little bit sleepy actually. I told you I was up very late last night fixing my little mini PC. Okay, I need to authenticate. Okay, and you can see that it works. You see, it picks up the MAC address. Okay, it actually broadcasts. Actually, it picks up the MAC address, and then it actually kind of scans it, and then it says, okay, it's vulnerable against this exploit. Okay, take note that this exploit is very, very fresh. This was on the 28th of August. It's a very new exploit. Okay, and I click OK, and it sent 2,400 packets, okay, to the target. Now watch what happened to the target. I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to wait here. It takes about a couple of seconds more, okay, and you see something happen to this target. It's quite interesting actually. Okay, so I'm just going to yeah, we're just going to watch and observe this screen together. I know the video is a bit long. Sorry about that, but no. You will learn something about this. This is very interesting. It takes about maybe about a minute or so, about 60 seconds for this to happen. So yeah, we can just wait and observe what happens. So the code is already fired off already. Okay. Um, the Windows machine has already received the code. There, blue screen of death. Okay. Very cool. Very, very cool. And of course, it will auto restart. Okay. Yeah. So basically, the moral of the story here, right, is basically what I'm showing you is that okay, um, cybersecurity professionals, right, they basically do things like subscribe to a certain kind of feeds, right, to actually find out about, especially like exploit DB is very useful because exploit DB actually shows you whenever there's a new exploit that's actually published up on exploit DB, right, which means somebody actually has found or someone has actually written exploit code to make this thing work. Okay, you will get information about it. Okay, and the reason why, right, I say that you need to gather information like that is because, let's say for example tomorrow, okay, somebody actually releases a new RCE for Ubuntu Linux, no, 22.04. Okay, so if you know that your company, your organization actually runs a whole bunch of Ubuntu servers which are 2204, this will kind of keep you alert and make you realize that, oh, are my servers actually vulnerable to this attack, to this exploit? You understand? Yeah, so in this case, I'm actually running a Windows 10 machine that's actually exploitable. It's vulnerable to this attack, to this very new RCE DOS attack. Okay, so you can see for yourself. So of course, ExploitDB releases all kinds of exploit code, not just for operating systems, also for service versions. It can be certain versions of Apache 2 point something, 2.x, 3.x, okay, or Nginx, different version of Nginx, or even MySQL or MariaDB, whatever. Okay, it can be anything. So it's good that you know offhand, right, without having to refer to documentation. To be a good cybersecurity manager, right, you need to actually know offhand the kind of operating systems that you have, the kind of service versions that you have, okay, as well as the applications that you have, okay, commercial in-house, okay. And the reason for that is because exploit code, right, can be written for everything across all these three areas. It can be something that's targeting the operating system itself. Okay, it may not even be a remote exploit. It can actually be something like a privilege escalation kind of attack. Okay, like for example, like the Pocket exec vulnerability in Linux. It enables a normal user to actually run the attack against the kernel, and then they can actually elevate themselves into root privileges. Okay, yeah. So knowing what you have on hand, knowing what you have in your in-house, your IT assets is very important. You must know all this information because as a cybersecurity manager, right, what will happen is that if you know all this information, you will be able to, if let's say suddenly Microsoft releases a new, Windows TCP RC checker in your service, you will immediately click in your brain and say, hey, oh wow, are my servers actually vulnerable to this or not? You see, and you can actually go and take steps to go and look for the Microsoft cumulative update or the patch for it, to patch against this thing and quickly get your guys to push it out through WSUS or through your AD group policies, right? So this is something that you need to know very well. So this is basically the defensive posture. This subscribing to this kind of feeds, right, enable you to react faster before any new attacks can be used. Okay. Um, of course, these kind of attacks are not zero day attack. Zero day attack means that nobody knows about it. The code was never published. Okay. That means whoever the hacker is, right, he actually found a way to actually exploit it. He wrote exploit code for it, and he's using it actively, but he doesn't want to release it. He doesn't publish it, then no, of course, no one will know. Those are zero-day attacks. Okay, so this thing doesn't stop zero-day attacks, but what it does is that it actually stops very fresh, very new attacks that just launched maybe a few hours ago, few days ago, few weeks ago. Still very fresh, very new. Within the same quarter or the same year or things like that. Okay, stuff that can be used to actually find a way into your organization. Um, like I said, it may not be somebody that's trying to actually hack into your organization, but it might be automated malware, fully autonomous malware that runs by itself. And modern day malware, right? They are very advanced. They can actually launch RC attacks against such vulnerabilities. Okay, so this is something that you want to take note. Okay, so from a blue team perspective, right, this is actually very important information because when you get this kind of information, you can act on this information. You can take defensive measures, you can do mitigation action in order to stop this from happening. Okay, so from a blue team perspective, this is very important. From the red team perspective, it's also very important because once they are able to have the published code, right, they can actually use ChatGPT to weaponize the code. Even if some of the code may be just a proof of concept code, that means it may not be working very well, it may not be very stable, but they can put it through ChatGPT to clean up the code for them and make a working version for them. Um, it's kind of like think of it as exploit DB is like giving you the blueprints to a gun, right? And maybe the gun that you have the blueprints, you are able to make the gun from there, but the gun is still not able to fire, right? But using ChatGPT, you can actually clean up the gun and make it working. That means it becomes a fireable weapon. You can actually use it to shoot and kill somebody. Okay, so very scary, very very terrifying, and very very scary. Okay, yeah. So this is something that I wanted to share with you, lah. No, you got time, right? Try to, if you still don't understand what I'm talking about, you can call me or WhatsApp me, whatever, lah. But try to go through, like, replay this video and watch it a few times, and then you will actually understand what I'm talking about. It's not that difficult, lah. Okay, yeah. Anything, just call me, lah. Okay.